That's live ammunition they're firing. Tonight, this hour, President Nixon is sleeping only 30 miles away from these men, Palestinian guerrillas, who have done almost everything to attract the world's attention. Their extremist fringe caused the massacres at Munich, Ma'alot, Kiryat Shimona. My name is Bill McLaughlin, and my assignment several months ago was to make contact with the leaders and the rank and file of the guerrilla movement. Most specifically, I was to report on the Palestinians, as CBS News has documented in other broadcasts the life and opinions of the Israelis, the Japanese, and the Italians. There can be no peace in the Middle East before there is peace between the Palestinians and the Israelis. These are, believe me, violent men who can say frightening things.
As we understand that innocent people from my people is dying, I do understand that innocent people from other nations might die. I don't feel glad about it, but as well, I can tell you that this does take place all over the world, and it did take place all over history.
The President of the United States sleeps not far from this man. The Palestinian guerrilla movement is secretly in touch with U.S. officials. In particular, this man, Yasser Arafat, their leader, is ready to talk to the West. Tonight, you will hear him make a subtle suggestion that may be the basis of the final agreement in the Middle East. Beirut, Lebanon, a city too dangerous for the president to visit because it is a center of the guerrilla organizations. It is also home to many middle-class Palestinians, and we made contact with them, too.
And I think the whole world made the terrorist movement. That you call the terrorist, I don't call it so. They created this because they were all the time quiet about everything, about the poor Palestinians, their rights, they did not care that these people have rights and these rights should be given back to them. And the Palestinians for 20 years, they've been begging everybody. And now when they come out with a little bit of loudness, I call it loudness, not violence even. They have to shut them up.
Tonight you will hear Arab voices with which you may disagree. They say sometimes shocking, sometimes reasonable things. But what they will say tonight is what they want to say to the President of the United States and his Secretary of State.
CBS reports. The Palestinians. With CBS News correspondent Bill McLaughlin.
It is all quiet on the Israeli-Egyptian front. It is all quiet on the Israeli-Syrian front. It is all quiet on the Israeli-Jordanian front. It is almost all quiet in the Middle East. Yet these men could shatter the calm, destroy the peace, and start the war up again. Palestinian guerrillas, men without a country for Henry Kissinger to shuttle to. Dangerous men, allied with guerrillas who have committed acts of terror throughout Europe and the Middle East. Once these guerrillas specialized in hijacking. Now they're rehearsing border raids against military targets. Almost everything in Israel is a military target. Who are you?
I'm an Arab from Palestine, member of the PFLP. My name is Ramez.
Ramez.
Right.
What have you been doing, Ramez? What do you do every day? What is your job?
I live in one of the bases of the PFLP, where we receive our orders and plan for military operations against the Israeli army. And I can tell you one thing for sure, that Israelis do not even announce 1/10 of what takes place. They just mentioned the other day that a group of people came and one man was wounded. And I can tell you for sure that none of the Israeli soldier was left alive.
We were permitted by these members of the Popular Front for the Liberation of Palestine to observe their training maneuvers in the safety of Lebanon. If there's a theatricality to this, in a way these men are used to it. For to other Arabs, guerrillas are athletes, movie stars, and heroes rolled into one. When Arab armies went down to humiliating defeat in 1967, the guerrillas kept Arab pride alive. This teenager stumbling across a dried-up creek is reaching for manhood. At the same time, he's learning to kill. When the guerrillas do kill, the cycle of terrorism and counterterrorism will begin all over again. Guerrilla guns threaten more than Israel. As long as the guerrillas are supported by the people, no Arab government could attack them and survive politically. This is make-believe in Lebanon. Six weeks later, reality in Israel. Ma'alot. The men who killed and were killed at Ma'alot were not the same guerrillas we photographed. They were a splinter group. The official guerrilla line was that the 22 children they killed were in a paramilitary organization. Back to Lebanon. Guerrillas consider all Israelis part of the military establishment, but in fact killing civilians makes headlines. Killing soldiers does not. Sooner or later, guerrillas like Ramez justify terrorism.
Are there any limits to what you're prepared to do for your people and your cause?
No limits to anything that will serve my people.
What about your own personal feeling about plane hijackings and the involvement of civilians? How do you feel about, say, killing people who may have nothing to do with your cause or anything to do with Israel?
As we understand that innocent people from my people is dying, I do understand that innocent people from other nations might die. I don't feel glad about it, but as well I can tell you that this does take place all over the world, and it did take place all over history.
The guerrillas are mostly the sons of farmers whose homes were in Palestine until their defeat in 1948. They live frustrated and homesick lives in refugee camps or guerrilla bases. They have almost no control over their own future. They can be sold out by the great powers, and they expect to be, so they never miss a news summary.
La politique égyptienne, a-t-il dit encore, a isolé la Syrie face à l'ennemi commun, Israël.
For the new recruit, it's been a great day, away from the refugee camp. Many of the guerrillas are too young to remember the Palestine for which they are fighting, but their parents fill in the blanks, adding more color as the years pass.
Ramez, do you remember exactly your village and your house?
Actually, PFLP gave me the chance to walk into my village.
How did you do that?
We were preparing to choose certain targets in that area. And when I reached my village and I saw my place, I couldn't actually keep the tears coming down from my eyes.
How long are you prepared to go on fighting?
Well, as long as I'm alive, I'm prepared to go on fighting.
Ramez and his comrades are fighting for an impossible cause, a socialist Palestine made up of Arabs and Jews. All the guerrillas have in common is a claim to the same land and a readiness to shake hands with the devil if he'd show them the way home. Well, whose home is it? And why do these men kill and die for it? The basic problem in the Middle East is that the promised land has been promised to two different people at the same time. The Arabs say that history promised Palestine to them. The Jews say God promised Israel to them. There may be no solution, but the problem has a history. Over 3,000 years ago, Moses led the Israelites to the promised land. They lived there for 1,000 years until Babylonian and Roman armies drove most into exile. In the 7th century, it was the Arabs' turn for conquest, and they've been in the Middle East ever since. Much later, in the 16th century, the Arab world was swallowed up by the Turkish Empire, and it was not until the First World War that Allied and Arab armies were able to end Turkish rule. It ought to have been cause for Arab celebration, independence at last. Instead, Turkish control was replaced by British or French control, and the area called Palestine became a British mandate. What was home to the Arabs was still the promised land to millions of Jews. In 1917, British Foreign Secretary Arthur Balfour declared, His Majesty's government view with favor the establishment in Palestine of a national home for the Jewish people. At the time, 700,000 people lived in Palestine, only 8% of them Jewish. But Jews the world over recognized that the 2,000-year exile might be over. And if a home, why not a state? By 1936, as more and more Jews fled Nazi persecution in Europe, the population had become 38% Jewish. Palestinian Arabs felt threatened politically and economically, and in 1936 staged a rebellion against the British for allowing immigration. After 3 years of fighting, the British gave in and agreed to limit Jewish immigration and land purchase. But Arabs and Jews were on a collision course. The Holy Land was all they had in common. By the end of World War II, Palestinian Arabs and the British still stood firm against thousands of concentration camp survivors just as determined to reach sanctuary. In 1947, the British surrendered the problem to the United Nations, which recommended partition of Palestine into 2 independent states, one Arab, one Jewish. The Arabs rejected the plan outright and war followed. The Palestinians thought that the combined Arab armies would crush the Jews. But the Jews were better led and better organized, and instead it was the Arabs who were crushed. On May 15, 1948, Israel was born and Palestine died. Only 150,000 Arabs remained in Israel, but 750,000 were now homeless, exiled by a people themselves former exiles. And the countries they fled to, Lebanon, Syria, Jordan, and Egypt, impoverished and politically unstable, offered only asylum. These early refugee camps were nothing but sprawling tent cities, desert slums whose tenants were totally dependent on charity, on handouts from the United Nations. Since 1948, the Palestinians have been consistent losers, ignored by the West and used by the East. In 1967, the Arab-Israeli war, fought in their name, was a disaster for the Palestinians. Israel, the victor, occupied not only the Sinai and the Golan Heights, but all the remainder of Old Palestine, East Jerusalem, the Gaza Strip, the West Bank. Another 300,000 took to the road again, many of them refugees for the second time. If they were lucky, there might be a truck to haul away their belongings. If not, they carried them under their arms, on their backs, and on their heads. Some fled to Syria, most to Jordan, a one-way traffic across the Allenby Bridge to rejoin the refugees of an earlier generation. Of the roughly 3 million Palestinians scattered throughout the Arab world today, half are officially classified as refugees by the United Nations. One of the refugee camps created in 1967 is located a few miles outside the Jordan capital of Amman. 50,000 refugees from 2 wars are crammed in here at bare subsistence level. This is Bakar, a camp jointly funded by the United Nations and the Jordanian government. But in the Middle East, charity doesn't begin at home. Arab governments have preferred to let the refugee camps fester as a continuing excuse for war. They argue that Israel created the refugee problem and Israel should pay for it. In effect, the United States pays for most of it. 60% of the UN relief funds come from America, less than 3% from the Arab bloc. The refugees need jobs, but most fled not to the oil-rich Gulf states, but to countries with a surfeit of unskilled labor. Jordan was one of them. The most tragic refugee statistic is that only half of the registered refugees actually receive food rations. The UN Relief Agency is nearly broke. More than 250,000 children are waiting to get on the relief rolls, not to get fresh food or meat, but just for a few pounds of sugar, rice, beans, oil, and flour. Just $40 worth of food for each refugee each year. During this century, 4 wars have been fought in the name of the Palestinians, but they are rarely consulted. To find out what the Palestinians think, we talked to a number of them, and in a refugee camp in Lebanon, we discovered that no one is quite what he seems. Sunday afternoon, Maher Yamani, accompanied by a friend, returns home to visit his parents. Maher, he's the one on the left, is a bachelor who knows everybody in the camp, and they know him. So do the Israelis. Maher is only 24, but already he has machine gunned an airliner in Athens, spent a year and a half in a Greek jail, and helped out in a triple hijacking. His father is 85-year-old Hussein Yamani, who's been fighting as long as he can remember. His mother, Saida, has had 10 children. They were raised, as the old man puts it, to die for Palestine. One already has, killed on a raid into Israel back in 1966. From the kitchen across the yard, Maher's mother brings the inevitable tea. The Yamani home is sumptuous by refugee standards. There's an upstairs bedroom, for one thing, as befits the camp's most respected family. Hussein Yamani hasn't always had it so good. In World War I, the Turks drafted him to fight the Allies. He deserted, changed sides, and fought the Turks. Under the British mandate, he fought both the British and the Jews, until the 1948 war made him a refugee. These days, it's his sons who do the fighting, but there's plenty of fight left in the old man, too.
Mr. Yamani, could you tell us exactly what you've been fighting for all these years?
كنا نحارب إحنا حتى الإنجليز اللي كان.
We were fighting because of the British mandate, which was in charge of the country. To us, it was dishonest and unloyal. What could we do? We tried always possible until we found the way of the gun. As long as it is in our hands, we will continue fighting until we perish, all of us. But as long as it is in our hands, we will continue fighting, me, myself, my son, and my grandsons as well, my daughters and their children, and all the Palestinians. We Palestinians cannot accept a piece of our own land as charity from another country.
Like father, like son. In the refugee camps, anyone who's anybody carries a gun. And Maher is the local boy made good, the only international celebrity in the camp.
Maher, in December of 1968, you and another Palestinian commando attacked an El Al jetliner that was on the ground at Athens airport. One person was killed, 2 were wounded. What were your precise orders that day?
We attacked on the point that the organization ordered us to attack, you see, on the wing of the airplane, you see, not on the passengers. But by mistake, you see, we killed one people, you see, and he was a major colonel in the Israeli Navy.
Maher, I suppose you knew when you attacked the plane at Athens with your machine guns, you could have hit the gas tanks of the plane. And there were many civilians on the plane.
We saw many people come from Israeli airplane, you see. So we think that the airplane is completely empty, you see. And when we saw people, you see, get down and children, women, we stopped fire. It is very easy to us to shoot them, you see, because they are collecting, you see. It's easy to kill if we want to kill, you see.
But you didn't want to kill?
No.
What was the political purpose of your attack on the plane?
We have pictures that the organization, I mean, have pictures when El Al airplanes carry weapons from spare parts for Mirage airplanes from France to Israel.
Did you expect to survive the attack?
No, when we went there, you see, we have 2 purposes. Maybe we will live, maybe we will survive and we'll be in jail for many years. Maybe because the military regime in Athens maybe will hang us, you see, because they have military regime.
After his capture by Greek police, Maher and his accomplice were taken to an Athens court, tried and sentenced to 15 years in prison. 18 months later, their comrades hijacked a Greek airliner and secured their release. A month later, in September 1970, Maher was back in action again, this time in the Jordan desert as ground control in a triple hijacking. Jordan was then a guerrilla stronghold. 20,000 guerrillas openly defying King Hussein. The hijacking was more than just an attempt to secure the release of fellow hijackers. Maher and his PFLP comrades were trying to provoke a civil war between the other guerrilla groups and the king. When they blew up the airliners, they succeeded. A few days later, King Hussein's Bedouin army attacked the guerrilla bases, and in the 10 days of fighting, now known as Black September, decimated the guerrillas and eventually drove them out of Jordan into Lebanon and Syria. The PFLP had miscalculated badly. Instead of a demonstration of strength, the hijackings were a demonstration of guerrilla weakness.
As someone who has participated in attacks on airplanes and in hijackings, how do you feel about other such attacks? For instance, the one at Rome Airport on a Pan Am plane when over 30 innocent civilians were killed.
We are against these actions that to kill civilians because it is a very possibility to kill civilians. But this is against our aims, you see, because we used to say that we are not against the Jewish or against the American people or against the British people. We are against the military bases or the military regimes in these countries.
As a Palestinian, what do you think should be done with those Palestinians who carried out that attack?
These, in some uneducated people, in the eye of some uneducated, they are heroes, you see. But to me, they do the mistake, a very big mistake, that kill civilian people, because our aim not to kill civilians, see.
When Maher returned home to the camp after his release from the Athens jail, he was given a hero's welcome. He doesn't see himself as a hero, however, just a refugee trying to go home. Not all the Palestinian refugees are poor. In many countries, Jordan included, they're a commercial elite. In 1948, the Palestinians were the most educated Arabs, and in exile they established a reputation for enterprise and scholarship. They dominate the Jordanian middle class and the Kuwaiti civil service, and have helped modernize Saudi Arabia and the Gulf states. They have also specialized in management and finance, controlling the huge Arab bank, the money exchanges, and much valuable downtown real estate in cities like Beirut.
We took it from the room. You bought the entire room.
One of the most successful Palestinians is civil engineer Hasib Sabag. His construction company, one of the largest in the Middle East. His apartment in Beirut contains an entire antique chamber imported from Damascus. But Sabag insists his favorite possession is a small glass bottle containing soil from Jerusalem.
A friend of mine brought it from Jerusalem after the 67 war. And this is the soil of Jerusalem. It's the most precious thing among all what I have in my house.
Palestinian soil.
Yes, we're partners.
Sabag fled to Lebanon in 1948 nearly empty-handed. But in 1950, he and two partners obtained a $50,000 loan. Now their company boasts assets of $50 million. Today, he and others like him are economic consultants to the resistance, helping to plan for a future state. Clearly, wealth alone is not enough.
You're obviously one of the most successful of the Palestinian refugees, materially successful.
Yes.
Would you give it all up? You're obviously a very wealthy man here in Lebanon.
Well,
you're a Lebanese citizen.
If I can go back as I was before, I will give all up and go back to my. I like to go where I was brought up, where I have my childhood, where my father is buried there, my family was there. It is more than materialistic things. It is something sentimental.
Would you go to a new West Bank state of Palestine?
We may go as a company also there, start developing the country and helping our people.
But would you go to live there?
Yeah, yes.
What do you think of the guerrilla organizations, the resistance?
They are not guerrillas. They are people who are asking for their rights. We have been waiting for the world to help us in having our rights 25 years, and nobody listened to us. Even Even among our Arab countries, they did not listen to us. After the 67 war, now they started to listen to us.
As a Palestinian yourself, do you identify with the guerrilla movement,
yes,
the resistance movement?
Yes, I look at, they are our representatives.
Have you ever met any of the leaders, like Yasser Arafat and so?
Well, I know them all.
As the orphans of the Arab world, Palestinians have had to try harder. In Lebanon, the government is half Muslim, half Christian, and the Lebanese fear that the largely Muslim Palestinians will upset the balance. Jobs and citizenship are scarce, even though Beirut is a prosperous city. For most Palestinians, to reach the middle class is a great achievement. Leaving his Beirut apartment is Kamal Kastandi, a 48-year-old Palestinian businessman married with 4 children. Kastandi worked for the British radio in Palestine until his transfer to Cyprus in 1947. After the war, he couldn't go home. In Beirut, he has built up a small radio and television production house into a flourishing business, producing commercials, broadcasts on Arab literature, and even quiz shows. Kastandi is, as he himself says, successful but not prosperous. In 1966, he bought a small plot of land in Florida, which he's almost paid for but hasn't seen. He hasn't seen his old home in Jaffa either, not since 1947, something which he, his wife Violet, and daughter Samia cannot forget.
Successful here, you've made a good life for yourself. Why still this attachment to Palestine?
I was born there. It is my homeland. How would you ask me such a question? I belong there. I don't belong here. I belong to the land there. I was, as a child, running. I had the grape yards and the orange groves and everything. This was mine. I want to smell it. I want to be there. This belongs to me. If something belongs to you, like a suitcase, and somebody steals it from you, you feel so bad about it. How come your hometown, your house? I have 2 houses in Beirut. They are beautiful to me. If I live in a palace, if they make me a queen, I will not have the same feeling like when I go back to them. And I still have the memory of them. I mean, it's only yesterday that I left them. To me, I will never forget.
I have lived in Lebanon most my life, but I have not been able to adapt. I do not feel that I belong here. And although I did not face any material difficulty, my father was always able to provide for me. He was the one who had to face the material difficulties. Still, I can still remember at school, I used to feel so much loss for Palestine was a forgotten thing. I mean, Israel was an established state, and if I had, if anybody asked me and I said I come from Palestine, some of them would laugh, what is this Palestine? There's no more Palestine, it's not on the map anymore.
How do you feel about the Palestinian guerrilla organizations? Do you identify with them?
I identify emotionally and because these are freedom fighters. And I believe in freedom, and I believe in my country, and I think as the world has never listened to us, it is high time that our young people should really fight, and we will help them to fight. We're not criminals. We don't want to kill anybody. We want back our land, that's all. But if the world is not prepared to listen, and the only means to make the world listen is for the youngsters to go and fight, we don't want our children to get killed. I mean, we don't want them to hijack planes. We don't want them to get frustrated. I mean, if the world is prepared to listen and open up on the Palestinian problem and be fair and study the question and not put sort of local politics in the United States and in Europe as the basic thing. I mean, if the Jewish vote in the States is the most important thing, well, it is not to us. And the Jewish vote is their problem, not my problem. When Hitler killed the Jews in Germany, it was his problem, not my problem. I did not kill a Jew.
Given the level of bitterness, do you think that Arabs and Jews could live together?
Well, one of the characteristics of an Arab is forgiveness. And this is known. An Arab can forgive. If they give us back all our rights, we can live in a democratic country. I mean, every Palestinian wants his home and his land.
Not in a Zionist state.
Not in a Zionist state. As a Jew, I mean, as a Jew and an Arab, we live, and I think we still can live.
Suppose an Israeli said to you, well, you Arabs, you have so much land, why can't we have a small piece of it?
Well, I would answer in the same manner.
Americans have so much land. Why don't they give the Jews part of it? English people, everybody has so much land. Why should it be me to give my land? Palestine, the small place, the lovely people, the culture, why should they be the scapegoat of the whole nation? And I think the whole world made the terrorist movement. That you call the terrorist, I don't call it so. They created it because they were all the time quiet about everything, about the poor Palestinians, their rights, they did not care that these people have rights and these rights should be given back to them. And the Palestinians for 20 years they've been begging everybody. And now when they come out with a little bit of loudness, I call it loudness, not violence even. They have to shut them up.
What about the attack on the Pan Am plane in Rome when over 30 civilians were killed?
I am not for killing people. I'm completely against it. But I cannot condemn the terrorists. I have no right to condemn them. This is a phenomenon, it's an expression of extreme frustration. These people have been knocking at the gates of the UN for that many years and nobody has heard them. This was the only alternative. They wanted to shock the world. They wanted the world to stand up and say, what's going on, my God? Oh, there are such people as the Palestinians. They do exist. Oh, you know, I mean, it's a way of drawing attention, although they went to extremes at times, you know.
In Lebanon, the Kostandi family still feel like foreigners. The Palestinian ambition persists. Would the establishment of a small Palestinian state on the West Bank in Gaza be a workable compromise? The Kostandis themselves can't agree. But if there is an answer, the place to look for it is on the West Bank. When Moses looked over the Jordan at the land of milk and honey, he saw what is now the Israeli-occupied West Bank, which still looks like the land described in the Bible, in contrast to an increasingly industrialized Israel. The West Bank is home to nearly 700,000 Palestinian Arabs, most of them manual laborers, a third working on the land. In all, Israel now rules 1.5 million Palestinian Arabs within its own borders and in occupied Gaza and the West Bank. No Arab nation rules more. At 5 o'clock every weekday morning, 60,000 Arabs board buses all over the occupied territories to report for work inside Israel. Since 1967, the West Bank and Gaza have enjoyed an economic boom. There is full employment. This keeps the area pacified, but at a cost. While the Arabs help to build up Israel, their own communities have a labor shortage and remain backward. These construction workers are building a telephone exchange on the outskirts of Tel Aviv. They will be paid the same as Jewish laborers, between $7 and $10 a day, except that in Israel, fewer and fewer Jews are willing to do this kind of work. On this building site, only the foreman is a Jew. The Israelis have been successful in appealing to the economic self-interest of West Bank Arabs, but the odor of occupation has not diminished. In the town of Bethlehem, no longer quite so little these days, Mayor Elias Frege, an Arab Christian and one of the West Bank's most important elected officials, expressed the hopes of many moderates.
I believe it is our sacred right now to establish in what is left of Palestine for us, the West Bank and Gaza, a democratic government, to govern ourselves by ourselves.
When you say that, Mr. Mayor, do you mean an independent state?
Well, in the beginning, I mean a full independent state.
What about all the Palestinians in exile, the Palestinians in the refugee camps?
Well, if we are able to gain our independence, form our own government, then this country, which we will call Palestine, will be the homeland of all the Palestinians living outside its boundaries, and they will be allowed and welcome to come back home.
And how about the Palestinian guerrilla leaders, people like Yasser Arafat and Dr. George?
They will all be welcome to get back home.
Do you think the Israelis will accept it, an independent Palestinian state on the West Bank and in Gaza?
It's not up to them to accept or not.
This is our country. The Israelis cannot keep us under perpetual occupation and bondage forever. We want our independence, and we are free to live in our own home, in our own country, and to administer our government the way we want.
What is Israeli occupation like?
It is an occupation, like any other occupation.
The West Bank town of Jenin is considered to be something of a resistance center. Arafat sympathizers are easy to find. The Israeli Army of Occupation maintains a fairly low profile, but when army patrols appear in the streets, Arabs and Jews pretend the other doesn't exist. They share nothing. They exchange nothing. The Israelis have military power on their side. The Arabs have time on theirs. Since the October War, there has been an increase in terrorist activities. Palestinian flags fluttered defiantly on a few rooftops one morning as from the window of an Arab house we watched Israeli troops dismantle the home of a suspected terrorist. Local Arabs reacted calmly. In a few months, they'll help the owner rebuild it. It happens all the time. Anyone considered a security risk can be imprisoned without trial and without specific charges up to several years. 1,000 West Bank Palestinians were arrested after the October War. Some of them were jailed in the Jenin prison. Many of them have since been released. It is, by any standards, a reasonable occupation. But it's still an occupation. No Arab we met had a kind word for it. A town like Jenin offers some evidence that maintaining the West Bank as an Israeli satellite state is ultimately impossible. West Bank Arabs want Israel to give it back.
The people are fed up with war. They are fed up with the situation. They want peace. But they want peace with justice. They want peace with honor.
Would it be the beginning of true peace in the Middle East? Would the Palestinians accept peace, or would there still be a big section of Palestinians who will say, no, we want the whole thing. We want to go all the way to destroy Israel?
If you find a Palestinian who wants to say, I want to destroy Israel, he's a foolish man. Israel is a fact. Israel is here to stay. And I have announced that we accept and recognize the existence of Israel. But also I ask Israel to accept our existence here.
What would you say, Mr. Mayor, to those Palestinian Arabs who would answer you by saying that they don't want a West Bank state, they want to go back to their homes in Jaffa and Haifa and Safed and so on? What would you tell them?
If they had asked this question in 1948, 49, 1950, when the inhabitants of Israel were very few, it would have been very easy to answer yes. Now, these cities are purely Jewish cities. So if these Arabs would come and see their old houses have been demolished, new skyscrapers have been built, it will be really difficult. Most of them would elect to get compensation.
Would they want to come here, do you think, some of them?
They will be most welcome to come and live in the West Bank and Gaza.
Consideration of an independent West Bank state may be academic. The Israeli government is officially against it. There are already 17 Jewish settlements, 7 of them military on the West Bank alone. The government insists on a demilitarized West Bank. King Hussein of Jordan, who held the West Bank before 1967, would like to recover it, but is under pressure from the Arab world to give it to the Palestinians. The guerrillas themselves don't want either Israel or Jordan to control it, but they can agree on a compromise. And for the moment, the guerrillas and their leaders are the voice of Palestine. The Palestinian guerrillas have captured the headlines so often that their power is taken for granted. To find out how strong they are, we traveled under guerrilla escort to their stronghold, Fatah land, a 50-square-mile wilderness on the South Lebanon-Syria border. These young guerrillas are completing their 6-month basic training. They will soon be assigned to the base camps as full-fledged soldiers of Fatah, the largest guerrilla group led by Yasser Arafat. Under Arafat's control, Fatah guerrillas are the moderates, the middle-of-the-road revolutionaries. They are rarely associated with the bloodier terrorism of the extremists, although the bloodiest of them all, Black September, is believed to be a Fatah splinter group. At the conclusion of training, the recruits will undergo a baptism of fire with live ammunition. It is an extraordinary test of courage. It's also a little mad. It is supposed to be something more, a demonstration of strength. The young guerrillas are trying to prove to observers and themselves that they are a truly formidable enemy. But there are only about 10,000 guerrilla regulars plus about 40,000 armed militia in Syria and Lebanon. They have no airplanes, few tanks, very little artillery. They have never won a major military victory against Israel. Operating as a conventional army, they'd be quickly annihilated. Guerrilla warfare is their only option. If these guerrillas had a country of their own with political institutions, homes, factories, they would have a reason to maintain peace. At the moment, they have nothing but their weapons, an occasional boiled chicken, a few handfuls of rice, and their pride. As individual troops, they're tough and committed, and are far more dangerous left where they are than in their own country, where there would be less reason to fight. At the moment, there is only one man in the Middle East capable of controlling most of the guerrillas, and he's the one Middle Eastern leader Dr. Kissinger has yet to meet. His name, Yasser Arafat. Born in Jerusalem, a graduate of Cairo University who has served in the Egyptian army. Arafat was a founder of Fatah back in 1956. He is a popular leader and a convincing speaker.
من حق أي شاب عربي ومن حق أي مسؤول عربي.
Arafat walks the thinnest and longest tightrope in the Middle East. Now, as leader of the Palestine Liberation Organization, he is trying to unify all the guerrillas and control the extremists. As a politician attempting to appeal to all Palestinians, as well as the great powers, he is trying to appear moderate. Arafat is trapped in the middle. The extremists can always upstage him, maybe even kill him.
السلطة الوطنية سيظل قرارا فلسطينيا وفلسطينيا وفلسطينيا وإنها لثورة حق النصر.
Just before the Palestinians made their most crucial decision yet, whether to attend the peace negotiations in Geneva, Arafat finally agreed to a rare interview, to walk his tightrope in public.
With so many Arab states nowadays reaching new agreements with Washington and new friendships, in fact, being forged between Arab countries and the United States, are you worried that suddenly your Arab friends, leaders, will start putting pressure on you for a settlement?
Pressure for what?
To come to terms, a compromise. History is made of compromise.
I think that, I feel that no friend for our revolution can make any pressure on our opinion and on our struggle. But I think our friends all over the world will push our struggle because we have a just struggle. We are not struggling because we like fighting. We are fighting because it is the only way, after waiting all this time, so that our people can return back to their homeland.
What about the future? It's a complicated political situation. If the people on the West Bank and in Gaza decide that they want the Israelis out, but at the same time, they don't want King Hussein to come back in and take over that territory, especially the West Bank. And they want an independent state, a Palestinian state. Would you accept that decision of the people?
You see, we say that the revolution is for the people and not the people for the revolution. So anything our people accept, we will accept.
What Yasser Arafat just said is there are conditions under which the guerrilla movement would accept a West Bank state. He is about to imply that if the Israeli army withdraws from the West Bank, a Palestinian state would be established there.
And another thing, we will establish our independent state, our independent authority, national authority, in any place, in any area, which we can expel the Zionism from it. It is clear for us.
If this national authority existed, would you be willing to compromise and substitute political struggle for armed struggle?
Definitely. We depend on democratic system. As our people will accept and decide, we will decide. Not me who will decide.
Again, a translation from the political talk. Arafat has just said for the first time that his movement is prepared to end its guerrilla war and make peace with the Israelis.
Is there a way of setting up anything which would mean living next door to each other, a Palestinian state and a Jewish state, with open borders, with human relationships?
We have our own solution, and we declared it. We think that from our point of view, that the only settlement, the only way for a true peace in this area, I think it is the only way to establish our democratic Palestinian state where all of us can live in this area. You see, we are not saying that we will kick the Jews, because we are not against the Jews. We say that we want to live with them in this area. We are not against that. We are not against that.
You mean all of the Jews who are now living in Israel, if you were in power,
welcome,
they could stay there?
Yes. You see, although they kicked us, they assassinated a lot of us 5 days ago. They smashed by the aircraft, by bombs, one of our refugee camps.
Yes, but they did this in reprisal for their own children being killed.
But I am not the person who gave the orders for their army to kill our commandos and their kids. They are not children, they are kids. They get now. It is they are a semi-military organization. I am not the person who gave the order. It is Moshe Dayan. It is the cabinet, the Israeli cabinet, who gave the order.
As I talk to you, I sense, this bitterness, which I'm sure you feel is justified. But with so much bitterness, and I guess there's bitterness really on both sides, how is it possible to make a democratic state with people who are so mutually antagonistic, who have been fighting each other for so many years? How do you build a state with them?
You see, in October there was war between, but you see they trying now to arrive to a settlement.
Yes.
It is there was bitterness and war and killing here and there, but if there is a willing to live in peace, we will find a solution.
Do you think Israel, as it is now, the state of Israel as it is today, has a future in the Arab world?
I think the only future is to accept our point of view, to live together in our democratic Palestinian state.
And if the Israelis don't accept this point of view, what do you think will happen in the future?
It will be a short settlement, in my opinion.
Most objective observers of the Middle East wars decided a long time ago that the best solution to the problem of terrorism was to establish a West Bank state for the Palestinians. For if these people had a country to lose, a Palestine to lose, their actions might become more reasonable. The way things are now, they have nothing to lose by acts of violence. In this broadcast, Yasser Arafat indicated he might accept such a state. In public pronouncements, some Israelis themselves have urged a West Bank Palestinian state. But Jordan and the official Israeli government are opposed. If the shuttle starts again, Henry Kissinger will be trying to cajole all sides to create a Palestinian homeland. One Palestinian I talked to said, "I would vote for a Palestinian state even if all I had to live on was a rooftop in Jericho." Their promised land has yet to be delivered. My name is Bill McLaughlin. Good night.
يا اخوان بالله اللي معلوش شغل هيك شوي ضبط رصاصه عصفة صار عصفة 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 راس يمين بح بح جو